Story time to open up episode 3 of Crossing the Lines podcast. Welcome in. And yes, we do have a story for you because I had to hear this story. So now you guys have to hear this story. So I want to start this podcast episode off with a question. Have you guys ever heard of the Lake County Captains before?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, you shouldn't have because they're the high A affiliate of the Cleveland Guardians. And there's no reason for you to know this other than the fact that I follow a Twitter page that basically tells you all of the minor league promotions because minor league promotions are phenomenal, right?
They're gas.
So the minor league promotions retweeted this one, and it immediately caught my attention because the Lake County Captains put out their food for their promotional food for 2023. And the first two sound great, right? A giant nacho helmet plate. Spicy nacho helmets. Sound good? You guys in?
Yeah, I can get behind this.
Number 2 is called the Moby Dick fish sandwich, and it's obviously inspired after the book Moby Dick, and it's a very massive shrimp, basically a play on a shrimp poke.
I don't know what it means, but I love it.
Hard pass, but keep going.
The third one is where story time comes in because there's no descriptor. The other two have descriptions. This one has no description. The name, Skipper's 12-inch long dog. And that's where we begin today's Crossing the Line episode.
I don't even know what to say. Mark, didn't you have that one time? It wasn't at the captain's game, though.
Whoa.
No, it wasn't the captain's game, but I'll tell you what, it was delicious.
So here's the thing. I see this, and immediately I retweet it, and I say, I'm sorry, they said, what is the name? And the team fired back at me. Ooh. They didn't say anything, rude or anything. Their response was just dog check. And I have way more questions after the tweet than I did before the tweet. And so I had to see that story. So now you guys have to see that story. And that is the lowest that we will scoop on today's Crossing the Line episode.
Follow-up question. How
no
big do you
job
like
we
your
don't go
dogs?
lower than that.
What's your question?
How big do you like your dogs? What's the dog check?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Like, does Zuli have that dog in him? Is that what they're trying to ask?
What's your dog's name, Zuli?
My dog's name is Kaya.
Have you checked on her?
Oh, she's cool. She by the way, she wanted to do the podcast with us. She was every time I tried to come into the room, she followed me in.
She's still
animal friendly.
I've heard she has a lot to say, though.
Oh, she'll tell you when she's got a lot to say. She hates people by the door. Anytime, and we live right by the exit, so all day long, she barks.
Spoiler alert: one podcast we are ending with Mark debating Zuli's dog. That's just the last 5 minutes of an episode.
All right, so I'm not ready today. I got to prep for this. I know I'm not ready, but
so the question is, as we begin today's Crossing the Line episode number 3 podcast. Welcome to join us, by the way. How long is too long for Skipper's long dog?
I plead the fifth.
12 inches?
That sounds just right.
All right, that's the intro to the podcast right there.
Just the low-hanging fruit down here.
I had that teed up all afternoon.
That is the opening. We're keeping that. That's
what I mean. That's all I wanted that to be was the opening.
I don't think we've cut it yet. Whoever's editing this, we don't cut anything out. We keep everything in.
All right. You guys ready to actually start now? I mean, that could be the opening, but we could actually start the podcast.
I mean, good for Skipper, man.
All right, welcome back, my friends. Welcome to another edition of Crossing the Lines podcast. I am your host, Tyler Zuli. Somewhere across these screens, in some fashion, are my co-hosts, Mike Davella, Jack Molesky, Mark Fignani. Gentlemen, it is good to be back with you guys once again for episode 3. And like we said, that is the lowest that we're going to stoop because we are going to get into some actual sports conversation. I think, I hope, maybe. We'll see.
I thought we agreed Mark was going to take his shirt off at some point in this podcast.
No.
Nope. We don't.
We're waiting.
There's going to be a moment, and you guys will feel the moment coming. Don't worry.
I think the issue is going to be we're going to get into a an actual really good sports debate, and Mark's just going to slowly start creeping into frame.
We agreed that we would never get too serious on this show, so it's Mark's job to, when we're getting serious, do what he has to do.
Bring us back in.
I really want Mark to be Chris Farley from Billy Madison as a bus driver. It's like Spanish Armada. That is correct.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Hey, Jack, who won the 2001 World Series?
Oh yeah. I wasn't even alive, or barely alive. I don't know. I wasn't smart.
Are you smart now?
Look, I just said I wasn't smart then.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Popular show in 2001. Actually, I don't even know if it was in 2001.
There's no way. I was never asked questions in fifth grade that they ask on that show. No way.
See, the problem was there was no actual fifth grade questions on that show. They'd ask like kindergarten questions, and then it would be like advanced thermonuclear physics.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, wait.
Kids would get them right, and it made me feel stupid.
Right.
Well, Kimberly got it right. What do you have, Mark?
Well, Kimberly's 7 years old, all right? She's smarter than me, obviously.
Kimberly's answer is e squared times the x root of pi. Mark, you wrote green.
There was not a more savage host than Jeff Foxworthy on that show. He made the people that went on that show feel absolutely horrible about themselves.
That's
all right.
Don't we do sports talk on this?
Tyler,
we'll get there.
Tyler,
let's do it. All right, gentlemen. Obviously,
Realistic.
the big news once again this week is is March Madness, and of course, the Final Four is set, and 4 teams that are a little bit unexpected, right? You have a 4 seed in UConn, 2 5s in Miami and San Diego State, and a 9 seed in FAU. And FAU, of course, would look to make history if they were to win the tournament. They'd be the highest seed ever at 9 to win the tournament. So, guys, I got to ask you right off the bat, with the numbers that you saw and the teams that you're seeing, right, San Diego State and FAU specifically, is your enjoyment level there? Because I've seen a lot of people on social media have some interesting takes where they give you it's not the big 1 seeds, it's not the blue blood, so I'm not interested. And obviously you can tell by my narcissistic and stupid tonality there that I wholeheartedly disagree with that comment, because like we kind of talked about last week with the bracket thing, this has been so much fun.
I got to be honest, though. If you are one of those people that say, well, I want to see Duke in the Final Four, you probably can't be trusted. You probably suck as a human being. Like, because
you probably went to Duke.
You may have been dropped on your head. I mean, if you went to Duke, I feel like that's the only acceptable answer. Like, my buddy Bill went to Duke Law School, and I mean, obviously,
he's okay. He's
law
in
school, but he went to Boston College. Not like they have a massively talented basketball team or football team for that matter, but to get a team to root for out of college, I mean, that's definitely a part of why I went to Penn State for the football. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't blame anybody who went there, but if you are one of those people that just decided, I'm going to be a Duke fan, like, get out of here, man. You probably got dropped on your head as a baby.
Why does it matter who's in the Final Four if the games are good? I guess that's my question. And like,
right.
How many of these games that have been played by these teams that have made the Final Four have actually been bad? I would like FAU's played in some very exciting games. San Diego State is always in tight games because they don't score a lot, but their defense is damn good. The only team leading up to this that hasn't played in good games is UConn, because they're that freaking good in this tournament. They have just been dominating the field. Which brings up the question of, I think they were terribly underseeded. They're not a 4 seed. I think San Diego State was better than a 5 seed. And FAU, honestly, might have even been better than a 9 seed. I know it's tough because they're not in one of the major conferences. But when you look at the KenPom rankings, those 3 were top 25 to end the season. San Diego State and UConn were top 13. So these are really good teams that are just being labeled as upsets, largely because I think they weren't necessarily seeded properly. But yeah, I mean, I've just had a damn fun time watching this tournament because there have been a lot of good games. Who the hell cares who's winning?
Speaking of which, I need to shout out my Huskies real fast. I said it last week. Shabazz Napier and the 2013 Huskies was my pick for Cinderella story that I most loved. They won me $300 in my tournament pool, the only Final Four team that I was able to pick correctly. So
here we go.
Take it away,
What did we make it, guys? 8 minutes before we heard about the $300?
Mark, take your shirt off.
Take it off. That's what I want to use my $300 on.
That's good. That's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, are you using that $300 on Mark getting new shirts, or are you using it
No,
for
no, no, no. Well,
an
To be
OnlyFans
fair,
type
this was a
experience?
free shirt too, so like, I'm not even.
has there ever been a sports podcast that has dipped into the OnlyFans world? We can make history.
Listen,
Blazers.
I didn't cut my nails today, but I'll throw my feet on this. All right. I'll do it.
Well, we have to monetize that.
Oh, my bad.
We need to start having sponsors because that don't sell yourself short, Mark.
Whoa, that's pretty
Worth
cool.
it.
While we were recording this breaking news, Rex Ryan has subscribed to our YouTube channel.
No, I think this whole March Madness has been great. I love the Cinderella stories. I love the underdogs. And like we were talking about last week, I didn't even make bracket at all this year, which was honestly liberating. I had a lot of other things going on. I wasn't thinking about it, and it was nice to just sit back, watch these games, and just hope for a game, hope for overtime, hope for fun things to happen. Like the UConn Arkansas game, that wasn't fun.
It was a
I
bad
didn't even watch
basketball
it.
game, quite frankly.
I watched the first half and said I'm done. No, it's fun to watch these teams that are maybe not Power 5 teams finally get their chance to play against these Power 5 teams. And yeah, maybe they might just be hot at the right time, but it's also could just be they were that good. They have that good of players. And with the NIL and stuff, like this can happen more
It's
often.
going to.
I think the NIL is a huge portion of it. Like Miami's, I don't want to call them strictly an NIL team, but like they have benefited significantly from those NIL deals. And I think with NIL plus the fact that the talent pool has become so great, that top tier talent's not moving, it's not coming down, right? But the floor talent is coming up to meet the top tier talent much closer than it ever has before. And you get these teams like FAU, for example, where I think Jackie brought it up where they're not in a premier conference. So I ask you guys, like, if their patch on their shoulder, if it said American, right, it had the big A instead of it saying CUSA, they're probably a 6 seed or a 5 seed. You know what I mean? Like now they're probably not 31-3 because the American is better than Conference USA, but there are some dog crap teams in the American too, right? Like I know that there's bad teams in Conference USA, but there's some dog crap teams in the American too. Yes, you'd have to deal with Memphis. Yes, you'd have to deal with Houston, but like there are some like does Tulsa worry you any more than Middle Tennessee State does? So like if they have a different patch, they're probably a 5 seed. That goes to your point of like I'm not sure if the committee that makes these rankings anymore has a grip on rankings because these teams are getting better.
I mean, I think it's never been harder than now to try to make these rankings. I think that we kind of saw that a little bit in college football already too. It's going to be continuously harder with teams that aren't huge teams that you're not bringing people in now to the Alabamas of the world just because they're Alabama. I mean, they still are. Let's not be, rash here, but you can get a guy to go to Florida. You can get a guy to go to, Penn State just because you can say like, we have this money for you, or, we have this deal with this company, or just any way to get their name out there. That's all it's about now. It's all about getting your name out to the public and be drafted. Or signed, whatever you need.
Yeah, that would require Penn State to jump into the 21st century. We're talking NIL deals, but that's a conversation for a different time.
Well, I mean, listen, let's be honest. Like Penn State jumped into the NIL deal about 3 years before the NIL deal became a thing. Like
in football, at least.
Oh, I mean basketball.
No,
like,
Pat Chambers, man.
There was
Lamar Stevens got
a Pat
paid.
Chambers moment.
Tony Carr paid.
Where he went, I'm going into the Philadelphia Catholic League and I'm paying these guys, and I'll take the repercussions. Now,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Penn State basketball is weird, and this is not even what we're talking about anymore. But I feel like there's a large contingent of that fan base that isn't willing to hop on this new like. I think that's actually going to be a big problem for some of these schools that operated like as the only schools, because there are going to be a lot of boosters that are, well, that was the like, let's take us back to the old way because they're afraid of not dominating their sport. anymore. And there are going to be a lot of these like innovative mid-major schools and be sitting if they just market their schools in the right way. So I'm curious to see, like, I think there's going to be one or two schools we identify in the next 5 years. That's the school that was never going to succeed at this level outside of the NIL deal that just did a damn good job in this new era. And they're going to kind of turn into that like new powerhouse. And I don't know who it's going to be, but
Colorado.
there's going to be one or two.
FAU, baby.
Colorado. I mean, come on. You got Dion. It's
Prime,
Colorado.
baby.
Sure.
Dion's gone the second, if anyone, which I don't think it's going to happen, but Dion's gone the second a better job comes calling.
True, but they're giving him. You got to know that. Like I've seen him in every single meeting with every single department, and they're like, Dion, what do you want? Just tell us what you want, and we will make it happen. That's all he wants.
Coach
But that's why he's going to leave so quickly because he's only in it for him.
Yeah, that's true.
Mike, you're awfully quiet over there.
I love Coach Prime. No,
he's thinking about how much of that 300 to put on UConn right now.
You know what? If we're gonna put out there, I'm sure there are different things that we're gonna talk about later on the podcast. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I really would love to see FAU UConn. I think that'd be a fun matchup, and I really feel like if you were to tell me, if I didn't watch a lick of the tournament, you're telling me FAU has made it to the Final Four. I'm thinking it's because they've got some scrappy perimeter shooters that have just been absolutely lights out, but they've been so good in the paint. And I've been really pleasantly surprised to watch them play. And they've been one of the few teams that have really, like, anytime they've been on, I'm like, man, this team actually has a shot. And they ended up winning every game. Obviously, they're in the Final Four now. It was just fun for me to be able to experience a run like that. If we're talking like certain Cinderella teams that have just been pleasant surprises, especially for me, formerly living in Fort Lauderdale. And, you know, when Lane Kiffin was there with the football team, he had his big come to the FAU hashtag when he was trying to get some bigger time recruits. Motor Singletary was down there. So that was like, for me, a team that I could go up and watch every once in a while. So being able to see their team come into the NCAA tournament, have success, I'm almost a little bit jealous. I was hoping Penn State would have some sort of run like that. And I felt like they had the ability to do so just the same. But again, I mean, FAU's doing it in a way that I wouldn't expect to start the year. And I think that they're a contender. And you, Zuli, you made it really clear at the beginning of this conversation. It's not, the production is not lacking. We're seeing really quality basketball. And that's all we can ask for as viewers. Doesn't matter who you get in the beginning of the game. Like, if you see a team put up a fight, make it interesting, we're having exciting basketball into the final minute of the game. That's all you want in March Madness. That's why it's called March Madness, for that reason. So I'm all for it. I'm excited to see whatever happens. But if I had it my way, I feel like that'd be the most intriguing matchup.
Well, and I think the one thing, too, that really makes this tournament fun is, like, and this is every year, it's not this year specifically, but you start to kind of, like, fall in love with some of these players that you don't get a chance to truly watch. Like, Charles Barkley was raving about Vlad Golden from FAU. He's like, he basically said, like, I had no idea this guy existed before the tournament, and here he is. I think one easy one that a lot of people really have had clinged to.
Mac McClung to? I'll see myself out.
Clinged.
whichever verb is correct, is Marquise Noel from Kansas State. Like, he was a guy that I think a lot of people really enjoyed watching play the game of basketball over the last 3 weeks. He was fun. He was energetic. He had fight. He had fire, and he's a darn good ball player.
Do you know why no one was talking about Vlad? Because the only person over 7 foot that anyone talked about before this damn tournament was Zach Edey.
Who?
The alien.
Exactly. The guy that lost 2 weeks ago.
Can't wait for him to be the 58th pick in the draft next year.
Yeah. I love that Jack still isn't off of this one. He cannot get enough of just shitting on him.
I'm all for good players getting their props, but the worst thing is a bad player getting props for being good when he's clearly not.
He's just getting props for being big.
And it pisses me off more when people that know way more about basketball than I do are saying a take that is so clearly wrong. Like, they're literally just following a storyline. Have your own opinion, please.
Zach O'Fall.
I like it. Print the t-shirts.
Yikes.
That can be our first piece of art.
The first round, maybe.
Yeah.
Zach O'Fall failing to get out of the first round since 2016.
Crossing the Line podcast merch.
That's the number one fake headline of the night that 5 people will see. Crossing the Line podcast
right.
hates Zach Edey. We're sorry, Zach. We wish you nothing but the best, but Jack doesn't.
Jack doesn't. Jack
God,
wishes
no.
you nothing but the worst.
Have fun on airplanes the rest of your life, idiot.
And that's the thing. I feel like Jack's poor wishes are going to be like, I hope your milk is sour. I hope when you go to Wawa, they don't have the iced tea you want. Like, it's going to be ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't actually wish to have a terrible life, but
I hope next time you get a hoagie, they cut it long ways. Like,
oh my God, that's sadistic.
I just hope every time he walks through a doorway, he just lifts his head up a little too soon.
I hope every time he opens up a soda and he wants to drink it, it's flat.
Oh,
that's a bad one.
Tough one.
So I figured out my favorite one. I want to know. I'm gonna run this by you guys. Everybody I've ran this by so far really enjoys it. Maybe they're just telling me to shut up and get away from me. My new favorite one is I hope you get when you're driving to work. I hope you get stuck behind a railroad crossing and a train comes.
That is
because there's nothing you can do about it. Right? You just sit there pissed off.
Have you watched we're going to talk Fast and Furious again. Have you watched the first movie? Just beat it to the line.
Oh.
Luckily, I work from home. I used to have railroad cross. There were like 4 different railroad crossings that I'd have to get through to and from my commute, my 20-minute commute to CBS Sports back in the day. Nothing worse when you miss that and you hit the train and it takes like 10 minutes for the train to go by and you have to explain to your boss, oh, I was late because there was a train. And after a certain point, the boss starts to think, maybe this kid's just lazy. But I swear, it was the train.
I would wake up to Snapchats from Mike like 2 hours after with him just sitting at the railroad crossing and the lights blinking in front of him.
It would usually be with a Snapchat caption, fuck you, bitch, or something like that. I hated that train.
I feel like it's every time I need to get somewhere, whenever there's a railroad crossing, but it's always the worst. I literally was sitting behind this railroad. I'm like, oh, it'll be done soon. I can see the end of it. It goes all the way this way.
And it backs up.
And starts backing up. No, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm done.
Why?
I'm going a different. I literally turned around. I'm going a different way.
My commute went from
Mark just gets out of his car, locks the door, leaves it in the middle of the road, and walks.
Yeah, he probably get there quicker. But now my commute is the equivalent of that Toy Story video of the what's his name? The evil guy.
Al's Toy Bar.
Yeah. I can't believe I gotta drive all the way to work on a Saturday. All the way to work. And
I'm gonna text
the street and he's there.
I'm gonna text Jill and tell her to put a toy train set out of your front bedroom door, so you have to stop on your way to your desk tomorrow.
I have one.
Did you steal it from Wegmans?
I'm gonna throw rocks at trains. That's what I'm gonna do tomorrow.
Like literally my favorite pastime, actually.
My day off is throwing rocks at trains.
Mark's pastimes: rocks at trains, baseball.
Nothing more soothing. You guys, you know what? I'm actually going to expose us right now because I think the world needs to know one of the most fun nights we've ever had as a group. One night at Com Radio.
By the way, real quick, disclaimer on this story for Mike. This night included 0 alcohol.
No,
0.
Every single one of us.
Oh my God, I know what this is.
So
awesome.
All right.
I didn't know where this was going.
I knew right away.
Oh, this is going to be so bad for me, probably.
Somebody was giving away just a bunch of mugs. I don't know why. I don't know who it was, but the 4 of us came into a very wealthy amount of mugs. And we decided the best thing to do with those mugs, instead of take them home, drink coffee out of them, whatever, we were like, you know what? Let's go over to this vacant lot. And we were, I think, in Mark's car, his old Honda Accord. And or Civic, I forget which one it was, but we decided to just park the car and start chucking the mugs and seeing how far we could chuck them. And they would break on the ground. We would laugh and we'd chuck another mug. And that went on for about 10, 15 minutes. And we had no more mugs left. But damn, did we make some good memories from that night.
I think my favorite mug was
as we were
the
peeling,
sunroof mug.
I was gonna say, as we were peeling
Yes,
out, didn't we
sunroof.
Kareem?
Yep.
Did we?
That's what I
Kareem
thought.
the
I
last
didn't
one
want
out
to
of the
say
sunroof?
that because I didn't remember whether or not he had one. But yeah, we were driving out and someone chucked us from the top of the sunroof. Kobe!
Yeah, that was an awesome night.
That was like the greatest snowball of so many things. Like that was a stress reliever. That was a bonding moment. That was like everything you needed that to be. That was like, you guys ever see the videos that'll be like on Instagram? It'll be like for the boys, and it's just a guy like throwing a big rock into the river. Like that
Yeah.
was us. That's what we were. We were just launching coffee mugs for no reason in particular, and
Yeah,
we got what we got what we needed out of it.
I just got done like saying how stupid those rooms, basically those rage rooms where you rent out a room and are able to break stuff. I just got done a couple days ago, like making fun of those. And now I feel like I have to apologize to no one in particular because we just detailed one of the most fun nights we ever had in college was randomly breaking stuff. So
Rage
now
rooms
everything
are
makes
awesome.
sense.
Have you guys ever seen the videos of Daniel Tosh like in a focus group and he's talking to the people about like and he makes it like a list of just random things that sound funny and he'll ask like a group of people like, is this word offensive to you? And he'll say random things. I just thought of one for us. We're mug chuckers. Are you offended by that term?
No, I want to embrace it fully.
Can that be our listener name?
It sounds
How
so
podcasts
derogatory,
have
though.
names.
It sounds so derogatory, like these damn mug chuckers.
Those mug chuckers.
That was such a fun night.
That was
Hey, speaking of mug chuckers,
unbelievable night.
All right.
All right.
Tell us.
For
speaking of mug chuckers, can we talk about this whole JT Realmuto thing today? I got to get this off my chest.
Oh,
you
man.
go ahead, man. Floor's yours.
All right.
Because we were
As a
going to talk
catcher, right? As a catcher, all right. Sometimes umpires love to have their show. It's their show. It's not even a game. It's their show. Man, if I'm looking like this with my glove and I don't feel that ball come in there, I'm like, oh, that's right. He's been throwing it back. I'm going to put my glove down because this is uncomfortable. It's not my fault that you're stupid enough to miss my glove at that point. You're going to toss him right away. That's just like, I mean, that one grinded me.
Mark and I did the video about Angel Hernandez, 2 weeks ago now? Something like that. And it's almost an extension. It's like it's an open forum extension, not just to Angel Hernandez, but to all of baseball umpires. And the word that you and I, Mark, used like 10 times in that video was accountability. And there's none because these guys go on massive ego trips where they think that they're getting stood up. And I don't know if you have to pass like a douchebag test to become an umpire. And like if you're not a big enough D-bag, like you get turned away. But all of these guys, with the exception of a few, like Pat Hoberg, these guys are so egotistical and they think that this thing is about them. And you get to a point where you've got Kyle Schwarber arguing for the Milwaukee Brewers because there's no accountability. Baseball umpiring is awful.
It's amazing. This is spring training. This is spring training.
That's the thing, too. It's
not a game.
Legitimately spring training.
Not a game. This is spring training.
So like we can laugh at it because it's spring training. If JT got tossed in like the middle of August because of this, Philadelphia and the surrounding areas would lose its collective mind.
I mean, how many people would be sitting in the parking lot just waiting, just trying to hopefully see an umpire's car?
I think you can get just that mad right now because if this happens in spring training, that's a clear indication that it could probably happen during the season. Like, and I texted this in the group, but I truly believe it. Like, I bitch about hockey refereeing all the time. I think all refereeing gets bad, but like credit to hockey referees, they allow the players to really go after them after a bat. Players will argue every single call in hockey and drop 1 to 3 F-bombs, no matter if it was a great call or a bad call. And hockey refs just sit there and take it. And the best part is they go back at the players even harder. That's what it should be like. If a baseball ump actually gets insulted by a player, he should just go back and be able to say whatever he wants to the player. Don't toss him. Just give it right back to him. These sports are played with a lot of emotion, but to throw a guy out for that reason is stupid alone. I think a player really has to go over the line, even an F-bomb, whatever curse word, like that's not bad enough to throw a guy out of the game. Question his character, his family, then maybe we're talking about something. But like, again, just guys being dudes, like throwing a couple curse words at this guy, that should not be enough to ever get you kicked out of a game, in my opinion.
I think the other interesting caveat too, and just some context that I saw as to why this may or may not have happened. Apparently, one of the pitches before, Craig Kimbrell got called out on missing the pitch clock, and as whoever I forget who the umpire was, going to be honest, but the umpire,
douchebag McGee,
yeah, whatever, mud.
Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, his name rhymes with.
Anyway,
Angel is his twin brother.
He, in his ridiculous mind, thought that JT was retaliating to that call and decides to throw him out. Like, he's just looking for something. And to me, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, where kind of tensions get a little bit higher and you get that pent up frustration where, you know, you're an umpire, you're a hitter later into a game, and that may cause for something big to happen. One of those types of calls. Imagine a strike 3 call in the 8th or 9th inning, and you have to deal with the aftermath of the team that was affected negatively by that call. And then you're going to have other things where certain referees, like you see in the NBA, might be more impartial to certain players because they want to get on their good side. Like, I just watched the Sixers-Warriors game the other night, and I had seen calls that Tony Brothers made for Steph Curry that I'm just like, only in Golden State, only for Steph Curry would that call be called right now, and only by Tony Brothers. But like, that's one of the examples that I'm like, who would you have to be in the MLB to get that type of call from an umpire? And are we going to see that kind of stuff as we go into the year with the pitch clock?
You know what's really interesting?
No, go ahead.
Fight.
You know what's really interesting to think about is like,
mine's about fight. So
this is so early in the year, and it's not like there's a ton of umpiring crews. They're going to see each other a lot this year. He's going to work with that umpire behind him a lot. Like, they're going to have to work together during games.
Well, Mark,
I don't know about you guys, but I know, like, in high school, college, and even now coaching these travel teams, like, I see a lot of the same umpires. So if they remember my face and me fighting calls, or me being thrown out, or just being a douchebag, basically, that's a forever. That's an all-season thing. That could be a years down the road thing. So, like, this to happen in spring training.
I have 2 comments, and I'm going to let you guys decide which route you guys want to go. Do you want the personal story, or do you want the non-personal, but probably a better story? Okay, so I was.
I want the personal.
I want the better story.
I'll just tell you both if you guys want.
Oh, I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time.
This is the pitch clock version of the podcast.
Yeah. All right. So we, I was a young teenager, probably 13 or 14 years old. And I was on a team that was horrendously bad. Like, if I'm one of your like 6th, 7th best player, we might be a decent team. If I'm like one of your 2 best players, we're a terrible team, right? And I was like, there was like 2 guys who could play, and the rest of the team just like could not play. That's not true. There was we were just a bad baseball team. The moral of the story is we went 0-16 in a 16-game season. Didn't win a single game. Now, we had a guy who I guess just got assigned to us as a manager. I don't know how it happened, but he was our manager. He wasn't a parent. He wasn't a brother. He wasn't anything. Like, he was just a guy who became our coach. And he was a pretty big hothead as a manager.
Sounds like a motherfucker to me.
He got ejected from 6 of the 16 games that we played that year. Now, that's not the end of the story. In that league, if you were ejected, you were suspended for the following game, which means that he was suspended for 6 of our 16 games. This guy on an 0-16 team started and finished and completed 4 of 16 games as a manager.
That's incredible. You know what? I strive to be him. This summer with this team,
I don't know what he's doing.
I got to find it.
Dude, I had an all-star team when I was probably 13. Shout out to Mark for saying that last week. But we had a game against a team who had a really hot head coach, and we had we called him Crazy Joe, the craziest umpire I've ever had as a kid. just absolutely absurd, like the umpire that JT had today that just wanted to cause up controversy and would throw anybody out that he could. So this other coach got riled up over a safe call at home and started yelling at Crazy Joe. Well, he starts coming out of the dugout and Crazy Joe goes, "You're out of here," like immediately. And the guy just goes nuts. And the assistant's coach trying to hold him back, all this stuff. Well, there was a rule, I guess, in our league that you couldn't communicate if you were kicked out of the game. So the coach had to leave. He was supposed to vacate the entire field, but he went up to his car. And this was on like a big hill. So he's in his car up above the field. He can see everything that's happening. And you could clearly see the coach in his car. He's on his like headset, on his Bluetooth, talking to the assistant coach. The assistant coach is on the phone with the head coach, talking about everything that he wanted to do the entire game. Oh man, dude, I love those types of stories. The 13-year-old kid, you're
Sending
like, this is
SMS
the most
text messages.
entertaining thing that you could possibly get yourself into.
I just imagine like you couldn't even do group text back then, but just all your texts being like, dude, you'll never believe the shit Crazy Joe did today. Like kids on Joe.
He was nuts.
Game time. All right, gentlemen, it is segment time. We got to come up with a name for segment time, by the way. I don't know what we just call it
segment time.
Yeah, we have different segment names, but I do think that we need to kind of introduce certain ones and just have them be recurring and people just know.
I agree. Anyway, until we figure that out, it is segment time. In case you're new to segment time, each and every week, one of us comes up with a mystery segment, if you will. And the other three have to kind of think on their feet a little bit. The first week, Mike provided us with a segment. The second week, last week, it was Jack. So, Mark, unfortunately, I don't know how this happened, but you're going to be last. And it doesn't mean that means we're saving you the best for last.
The second is for last.
I'm going to take over segment week this week, and we are going to play a little bit of rapid fire questions, if you will. I'm going to ask you a question. You have 20 seconds to give me the answer and explain your answer in the best way that you can in 20 seconds. I have the timer here on my clock or on my phone, the old trusty iPhone timer. And what this rapid fire segment is going to be is, since this is the start of Major League Baseball regular season 2023 coming up this week, probably within the next couple of days by the time you get a chance to watch this, we're going to do a little bit of around the league. So I'm going to ask for your division winners. I'm going to ask for your wild card teams. I'm going to ask for your World Series prediction. I would like to get a MVP and a Cy Young candidate or a Cy Young winner for both leagues. So we are going to put the hypothetical timer on the clock, and we will start in the American League. We will start with the American League East. And here's how we'll do it. Mike, you will go first. Jack, Mark, you guys will go second and third, just to continue to have a little bit of continuation. You each have 20 seconds on the clock, starting right now. In the American League West, Mike, the American League West winner will be
the Houston Astros.
Need all 20 seconds.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Jack, you're up.
I mean, the Houston Astros, like until they're dethroned, they're the Kings.
Oh, I just don't want to say the Astros,
but you're going to.
Yeah, it's the Astros.
Guys,
they suck so bad. Oh my God, I hate them.
It's the Houston Astros. They were the best team in baseball last year. They very well could be the best team in baseball again this upcoming season. Move on. 33 seconds. Good work, boys. That's a good start. And I even gave an answer.
You timed us?
Seconds, so I love to see that. I did.
You saved time.
33 seconds. All right, we're going to continue to move on. American League Central, Mike.
Oh man, this is a little bit tougher. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Guardians because, you know, really not for any other reason outside of I think that they are young, they're talented, and Tom Hanks introduced them as the Guardians, and I liked it.
Time.
Cool. We're agreeing a lot. We have to disagree at some point, but Cleveland Guardians, 2 words, Jose Ramirez, single-handedly will carry them in a mediocre division.
That was literally going to be my reasoning, though. Yeah, Cleveland Guardians, just Jose Ramirez is so good. He's like, every time I watch him play, I'm like, oh, maybe he's not that good. And he's remarkable.
Hey, Mark, you want to play a word association game?
Yeah.
Hip, hip.
Jose.
All right, let's just make it 4 for 4. Once again, it's the Cleveland Guardians. I think that's the worst division in baseball, by the way. I think it has been for a couple of years, and it's going to continue to be the worst division in baseball. I'm going to take the Cleveland Guardians as well. Not bad there either. Three's not bad on that shot clock. So we're off to a pretty good start here, boys.
Beautiful.
All right, let's keep it rolling. American League East, Mike.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I know we're not going to have the same for the third division in a row. I'm going with the Toronto Blue Jays. I really did not expect to pick them until just now. This is a very impromptu pick, but I do think that some of the moves that they've made have shored up a couple of the weak spots. I really, really like Dalton Varsho in that lineup. So
Time, shut up.
Okay. You wanted me to go overtime.
Yes, I did.
I like
Jack, you're up.
I like the simplicity. I'm wearing the jersey. If you're listening, you can't see. It's the New York Yankees. They still have the best lineup. The Blue Jays are overrated. They even when they have good players, they still suck. Yankees.
The Yankees lose.
I got to go with the Yankees just because they consistently can get talent to go there. They just signed the best hitter in baseball, probably. You can't go against it.
I think we this is good. I like this. We're gonna have a split here because I'm taking the Toronto Blue Jays as well, because one of two things are going to happen. The Blue Jays are going to prove that that young talent and that young core is ready to compete, or they're going to have some serious conversations about having to blow this thing up, which is crazy to me considering how young they are, but they might have to. I'm taking the Blue Jays to win the American League East as well. So 2 Blue Jays, 2 Yankees, consensus Cleveland Guardians, a consensus Houston Astros as well. Rapid fire here because you only have 20 seconds for 3 answers. Give me your 3 American League wildcard teams.
Mikey.
Oh, man. I mean, we're going to go with the Rays. We're going to go with the Yankees. And we're going to go with the Minnesota Twins.
Okay.
All right. I've got the Blue Jays. I think they're going to be behind the Yankees. I've got the Mariners. I think they're a couple games away from contending for the title, but the Astros are too good in that division. And I've got the Orioles. Young guns make a late season push, and they sneak in by a game or 2.
Mark.
Bold. I like
Super
it.
bold.
Bold. I'm going to go Rays. I like the Blue Jays. And then, oh, man. You know what? Let's get bold. Royals.
Wow.
They're young.
Wow.
They're young. You never know.
And Zach Greinke. They're young and Zach Greinke.
And Zach Greinke.
Yeah. Zach Greinke thinks he's young. It's fine.
I'm going to go. Zach Greinke doesn't know where he's at.
Zach Greinke was on my fantasy team in middle school.
I think I'm going to go super chalk here. I went a little bit off the cuff last year, and I took the Tigers to make the playoffs, and that clearly didn't work. The Seattle Mariners are making the playoffs, as are whoever doesn't win the American League East between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. So that's 2. I am going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays as well. I think they've got a really nice 1-2-3 punch, especially when Glasnow gets back to being fully healthy. I think that they're not going to pay their players like they never do, but I think the Rays are going to make the playoffs as well.
I also, I already said my piece, but I should have picked Mariners instead of the Twins. I totally mixed that one up. But anyway, for the record, I said the Twins, so I'm going to ride with that.
All right, so just a throwaway, not a throwaway, but a pronunciation of who's going to make it between the 4 of us. The Rays, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Mariners, the Orioles, the Royals, and the Twins. 7 teams for 3 spots.
That's baseball, baby.
There you go. I like to hear it. All right, let's move on to the National League before we do anything else.
You got chicken in Philly?
Yeah, they got chicken.
They got chicken in Philly.
That's Wade Bug style.
Let's go counterclockwise this time. Mark, we're going to start with you. The National League East winner will be?
Man, Braves.
I like that. Enough said.
I mean, you don't really have to say much about it, but it's Braves. I would like it to be the Phillies. My bias wants that, but they're a good team again this year.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. It's the Braves. If the Astros don't have the best lineup in baseball, the Braves do. They're just too talented. As long as they stay semi-healthy, they'll win that division by 4 to 5 games minimum.
Mike?
I fucking hate agreeing, and I hate doing the same segment, but I just can't pick the Mets. I can't pick the Phillies because I feel like that would be too biased. I'm going Braves.
All right, 4 for 4. It's the Atlanta Braves, so the deepest team in the National League, at least.
Yeah.
I think that's
I'm just
pretty
happy that
straightforward.
nobody said the fucking Mets. They suck.
Fuck that. Un-American.
National League Central. Interesting division, and I use interesting very loosely because I think it's Drek. But Mark, National League Central winner.
Oh God. Can nobody win the division? How's that work?
Tie.
Give me the Brewers. I think it's got to be the Brewers. I don't think anybody else added anything really this year that could put anybody over the top of them.
Jack?
I did the AL Central in 2 words, so I'll do this in 5 words. Brewers, Corbin Burns wants to get paid.
That was 7.
By the Yankees.
All right, guys.
It wasn't 7.
I'm differentiating here. I can't agree with both of you this time. Andrew McCutcheon's back on the Pirates, so naturally the Cardinals are going to win the division.
I will give you the National League Central winner in 4 words. Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. It's enough for me. I'm taking the Cardinals. Let's go to the NL West. This is an intriguing one. Mark.
I'm going to go with the Padres. That's one of those lineups that Soto, Machado, you got that whole infield.
Rafael Devers.
You got the whole infield, and then you also still have Tatis. Like, they're too good. You can't pitch Pine. And plus you got Darvish to pitch for you. Like, yeah.
Yeah, as Ron Burgundy would say, San Diego. I think they win. Dodgers are finally not the team in that division. It's still close because I think the Padres are much like the Blue Jays, where they can put a ton of talent on their team. They're still not going to be amazing, but they'll win the division.
Mike.
You know what? I'm sticking with the Dodgers. I don't want to be agreeing with you guys every time, so I want there to be controversy. I want to cross some lines.
For the second consecutive year, the Padres will make a further playoff run than the Dodgers will. But for like the 9th consecutive year, I think the Dodgers are going to win the NL West. I just think that their pitching is still too good. And when Gonsolin gets back, I think they're going to be even better. Urias could be a Cy Young candidate this year. They're still really, really good. Whoever wins this division, it's going to be a slugfest to win this division. But I'm taking the Dodgers as well. 3 wildcard teams. Rapid fire. Mark, you're up.
3 wildcard teams. Why doesn't Jack ever have to start? This is such.
Oh, he will. Don't worry.
Yeah. Maybe take charge when it's your segment.
Give me the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Mets.
Yeah, I don't want to agree, so I'm not gonna, because I wasn't going to begin with. It's the Dodgers, it's the Mets, and it's the Cardinals. Ducks.
Dick.
Mike.
Jack's muted for the rest of this time.
Well, the Phillies with 3 World Baseball Classic Team USA, very American players, are going to make it. We're going to have the Mets, as much as I hate their American teammates, to make it. And we're going to go with the Padres in the 3rd spot. Very similar to what we saw last year in the National League.
I think that there are 8 good teams in the National League, and 6 of them are going to make the playoffs. And it's going to be the same 6 teams that made the playoffs last year. I know that's kind of crazy to say, but I think it's the Padres, the Mets, and the Phillies. And the 2 teams that I think are going to be on the outside looking in are the Milwaukee Brewers, who spent literally $0 in this offseason. And the one team that I to me, and actually, you know what? I'll save this because this is one of our segments that I forgot to mention. One other team that I think could compete. Real quick, before we get to some of the awards, World Series matchup. Jack, we'll start with you.
We already mentioned them as probably the 2 deepest rosters in baseball. So again, until proven otherwise, I got to go Braves Astros in the World Series, and I think the Braves get it done in 6.
Mike.
I'm going to say we see a little bit of change in the World Series. I don't know that the Astros are going to make it again this year. I think that they're going to be upset. I'm going to go Yankees versus we'll go Braves. Yankees, Braves in 7.
I'm a little upset because I was going to say Yankees, but it's going to be Yankees, Phillies. And Phillies are taking it this year. I'm feeling good about it.
You're feeling it.
And you know what?
Good.
I'm going to ride the bias train. I don't even care.
And we're going to we're clipping off Jack saying the Phillies won't make the playoffs, and then they end up beating his team in the World Series. That is going to be the saltiest moment in this man's life.
I'm so excited for
I
9 months from
I
now.
am stunned that two of the three of you picked the same team to not only make the World Series out of the National League, but to win the World Series. And the reason that I'm stunned is because we're going to make it three of the four of us. I think the Atlanta Braves get back to the World Series as well. But I don't have either of the teams that you picked them beating. It's not going to be the Yankees, and it's not going to be the Houston Astros. It's going to be the team that I have been huge on the last probably 6 months after I bashed them and said they were going to be one of the worst teams in baseball because of their relative youth. The Atlanta Braves in 5 games are going to beat the Cleveland Guardians in the World Series.
Wow.
I love that team. I think their top two is stellar. I think Tristan McKenzie takes a massive leap forward this year. Spoiler alert, that might be an answer to one of my questions later. But I'm going to go with the Braves defeating the Cleveland Guardians.
So nobody picked the Royals to go to the World Series.
It was tough. It was tough not to.
Disappointing.
You know how crazy you guys are going to look whenever the Royals get that wild card spot? We're going to clip this and be like, oh, Mark was so wrong.
He's so smart. All right, just a couple more guys before we wrap this segment in this episode up. I would like to get your MVPs, National League, American League. Mike, we're back to you start.
All right, we're going in the American League. Mr. Showtime himself, Shohei Ohtani. I think he's going to repeat. Or rather, no, Aaron Judge won last year. So he's going to come back
Judge, all rise
to go and win again after coming off that MVP from the World Baseball Classic, which he did win. And the NL MVP, I'm going to take a very biased approach. We're going Trey Turner. He is just unbelievably hot to start the season. I know anything from spring training can't be taken into the regular season, but I haven't seen a more complete player in a while. I'm excited to have him on our team, and we'll see what he does, but I'm expecting a lot of big things with Hoskins and Harper out of the lineup for a majority of the year.
Mark.
So I'm going to go Shohei first because I just don't think there's somebody in baseball that's better than him in the world. Not just in the MLB, in the world. He's incredible. And then on the NL, I actually kind of think he's going to come back with a vengeance this year. I think Acuna is going to take it. I think he's going to have one of those years that we look back on and say, wow, that was like the year that we realized that he's one of the best.
So he's not going to be lazy?
I think he was injured.
That's a different question.
Yeah.
Jack.
I'm shocked that Mike and I are agreeing on this, but yeah, it's Ohtani. Judge deservedly so, but you do have to have a historic year to beat Ohtani, and I don't see anyone having a historic year this year. Jose Ramirez will come close. I think he's second. It's Ohtani in the AL. It's Trey Turner in the NL, largely because of Hoskins and Harper being out. And I think the sped up game just benefits a guy that hits to all fields, that plays great defense, and that runs the bases really well. His numbers are just going to be amazing all across the board. Trey Turner, NL MVP.
Yeah, one of the guys you mentioned, Jack, was Jose Ramirez that I love this year, but I don't think I can give Guardians 2 awards, and go to the World Series. So I'm going to stay away from him. I'm going to go to the AL East. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is my pick to win the AL MVP this year. I think he's going to hit close to 40 home runs. I think he's going to raise that average. The OBP is going to be there. The RBIs are going to be there because they're going to score a lot of runs. And like I said, it's make or break year for the Blue Jays. So I'm going to take Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to win the MVP out of the American League. In the National League, I am going with Manny Machado. I think that Machado is, again, a similar situation. He was right there in the thick of things last year. If he plays 155 to 160 games this year, he's going to have in just off the charts good numbers with that Padres offense. I think Manny Machado wins the National League MVP. American League.
In.
Bro, I hate Manny Machado. I don't know why, but if you ask anybody around me, they'll tell you that I just hate him. There's just something about him.
Which is weird to me. Did you hate him before he became did you hate him when he was an Orioles?
I've always hated him.
Really? Because I thought he was like everybody loved him when he was with Baltimore.
Something about his face. I don't know.
Mark, yeah.
Something about his goddamn face.
We're crossing the line.
Well,
no, it's that he's lazy. He strikes me as lazy. I don't know why.
This was supposed to be rapid fire, and it's anything but. So just 2 more questions for you guys, real quick.
Right,
American League and National League Cy Young Award winner, and then one finishing question. But Jack, your turn to start. American League Cy Young.
Yeah, American League Cy Young is Garrett Cole. We've seen I feel like a slower transition than expected in New York, but this is finally the year where I just don't see another AL pitcher that is truly going to be as dominant as Cole could be. Benefits from Rondon behind him. And then in the NL, again, I said it earlier, but my man wants to get paid. So Corbin Burns goes out in Milwaukee with a bang and is the NL Cy Young.
Mike.
We're going to go in the AL. Framber Valdez. That guy is an absolute powerhouse. He couldn't be hit in the playoffs. I think he's going to continue that into this year.
Because he was using sticky stuff.
He probably was. But anyway, in the NL,
cheating if you don't get caught.
In the NL, I really, really want to go Zach Wheeler, but I already picked Trey Turner. We can't go two Phillies. I'm going to go Zach Gallen. I think he has a really, really strong year.
It's a great pick.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be one of the coolest things we ever see. Ohtani is not only going to win the MVP,
oh my God,
but he's going to win the Cy Young with it, and it's going to be amazing. And then on the other side, I think there's just not a better pitcher than Alcantara. He is
back to back,
so just above and beyond other pitchers in the NL right now.
Sandy
Alcantara.
All right, I'm going to go. I think you guys know. I'm going to keep this brief. You guys know my American League answer. It's Tristan McKenzie. I think he takes that step into stardom this year. I love his stuff. It's electric. I think it's his time to shine. And if he can kind of put it together on a consistent basis, I think he is a American League Cy Young candidate without any hesitation in my thought whatsoever. The National League was a little bit harder for me to pinpoint, and in fact, I cycled through quite a few guys. But anybody that knows me knows that I'm not the biggest fan of this guy, and which is strange because all he does is eat innings and pick up a lot of strikeouts. This is a contract year. Jack, you were talking about contract years. This is where my bias comes in for the first time. This is my maybe dark horse pick of all the awards. I think Aaron Nola is going to win the National League Cy Young Award this year.
I knew it.
Shit.
I think he eats a lot of innings. He strikes out a lot of hitters. He keeps the ball in the yard better than he did in the early portions of his career. I think that he has a very strong chance to win a Cy Young Award.
I don't have a timer in front of me, but that felt like a long 20 seconds.
It was a very long 20 seconds. That's what happens when you host the segment. All right, one more. No explanation needed. Just give me the team name and we'll wrap this thing up. Surprise team of the year. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to make the playoffs, but a team that you think is going to compete towards the very end, or maybe does make the playoffs and surprises some people.
Any order?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll kick it off. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the surprise team of the year is the Mariners because it's going to be crazy how late in the season that division is contested between them and the Astros. I don't think people are giving the Mariners enough credit. Like, they're not going to win the division, but it's going to be the last week of the season before it's decided.
I think the Eagles are going to surprise us. Somebody said it earlier about being a contender, and I do think
whoa, I never said contender.
They have enough young talent that I think you'll be surprised that they couldn't be worse than last year. So
you got a guy named Gunnar. That's all the analysis you need.
Gunnar and
Adley. Everyone thinks he's already the best catcher in baseball. Morons. Anyway, I am going to go with in the true meaning of the sense, dark horse. I'm going with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think Corbin
Damn you, Mike.
Is awesome. I think Zach Gallen, like I said,
I've been on this team for months now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're not going to end up making the playoffs because they have to battle out with too many big name teams that have such ridiculous payrolls. But I do think the Diamondbacks are going to surprise some people. I think they made some really good moves in the offseason. And I do think that some of the young stars that they have are true stars.
I like it. I mean, the Diamondbacks were my pick as well to go in an opposite direction. I'm going to preface this by saying of the teams that are actually willing to spend money, so take out Pirates and the A's. One of the teams that I think is going to be one of the worst teams in baseball this year, even though people seem to love their starting rotation for some odd reason, is the Boston Red Sox. I think they're going to surprise people with how bad they are. I think they're going to lose close to 100 games this season.
Would love to see that.
Wow.
There you go. Rapid fire. Jack. Us that couldn't be the Yankees jersey wearing, right?
It's a podcast.
Rapid
they can't
fire.
See.
Rapid fire segment for us that was anything but rapid fire. So thanks for playing along, guys. We'll tally up our scores at the end of the year and see who's smart and see who's not.
Are you smarter?
Spoiler: we all lose.
Do we have to?
There's no winning. We'll just scratch this episode from the record. Pretend it never happened.
Sure. The lost tapes.
So, guys, we have a couple more things to get into, but I think we're almost running out of time. I apologize that that segment went significantly longer than I thought it was. Jack,
There is no time on this podcast.
You have an incredible segment that I don't know if you want to put in now or if you want to make it the headliner of a separate video or another podcast. It's totally up to you because it's your segment and you're very fired up.
I think in the interest of keeping our 17 viewers interested and not going over an hour, we might want to end this show soon. But I think we also need to very shortly, maybe the second we stop recording this show, go into the other segment because I've been fired up for days.
So there, we'll give you a little. This is what we in the industry now that none of us are in the industry call a tease, and we will leave you with this. Jack believes that there is one player
that kind of tease.
That is correct.
Jack believes that there is one player in the 4 major sports that is perhaps the most dominant player ever? Question mark. That's a little bit of exaggeration, but I think that we are going to have an argument between this player and one other player in a different sport, and both of these guys are current athletes. So we'll chat about that in a future video because I know that Jack is significantly fired up about this topic.
Yeah, I don't pass a lot, but it's coming.
Guys, this was a lot of fun. Episode 3 is officially in the books. We want to thank everybody for tuning in and thank everybody for watching us on YouTube. Of course, you can catch us now on Apple Pod, wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple and Spotify as well. And whenever that video comes out, I suggest you listen to it or watch because Jack is going to be fired up. We're going to have fun. There may have to be a separation between me and Jack, and it may have to come in the form of Mike and Mark. So you guys may have to play babysitter.
I'll give you a tease of how it's going to go. Hey, Mark. Can I get a Hoya?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. We will talk to you next week right here on Crossing the Line podcast.